The sun rose over the sprawling military training ground, casting long shadows across the asphalt and sandbagged obstacles. The air was thick with the scent of gunpowder and sweat, mingling with the distant hum of helicopters preparing for maneuvers. Among the ranks of cadets, one figure stood out, not because of size or reputation, but because of quiet determination. Lieutenant Kara Holtgreen adjusted the straps of her combat vest, her eyes scanning the course ahead. Her small frame and calm demeanor had earned her a nickname whispered among peers, Deadweight. It was meant as mockery, a cruel joke at her expense. Yet she carried it silently, letting the whispers fuel a fire only she could feel. The training camp had been set up to simulate a high-intensity battlefield, complete with automated target drones, smoke-filled bunkers, and a maze of trenches designed to test coordination, agility, and marksmanship. Veteran instructors watched from observation towers, their sharp eyes missing nothing. Among them were legendary figures brought in to mentor the cadets. Colonel John Glenn, his reputation for precision and discipline preceding him. Colonel Eileen Collins, known for her unshakable nerve under pressure. And Colonel Charles Young, whose stern gaze could pierce through the bravest of soldiers. They had seen countless cadets struggle, but Kara intrigued them in an unusual way. She was underestimated, yet there was a calm in her movements, a quiet intelligence in the way she studied her surroundings. Her team moved forward, navigating the first obstacle, a series of elevated platforms that tested balance and endurance. The other cadets leapt effortlessly, their taunts and laughter trailing behind them. Kara took her time, calculating each step, feeling the tension in her muscles and ensuring she would not falter. The instructors noted her precision, though they remained silent. Even in her slow, deliberate movements, there was an unmistakable sense of readiness, a patience that hinted at more than raw strength. At the edge of the training field lay the weapons area, a critical section of the exercise. Cadets were expected to demonstrate both speed and accuracy under pressure, simulating the chaos of a real combat situation. Kara's hands brushed the cold metal of the rifle she had been practicing with late into the night, when the rest of the camp was asleep. Her peers mocked her for spending hours alone, calling it futile. They did not see that she studied the strategies of military legends. Lieutenant Audie Murphy, Colonel William Billy Mitchell, Lieutenant Nancy Harkness Love, and absorbed every lesson they left behind. Each movement she had memorized, every tactical maneuver she rehearsed in her mind, was preparation for a moment that she could not yet see, but instinctively felt approaching. Even now, the air carried an undercurrent of tension, the anticipation of an unseen challenge. Kara's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from focus. Somewhere within the chaos of the simulation, something would test her beyond the expectations of her peers, beyond the ridicule that clung to her name. She adjusted her helmet and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over her shoulders. The instructors watched, aware that while many cadets would stumble, there was one among them who might transform their doubts into astonishment. The battlefield was set, the targets were in place, and the world seemed poised for a demonstration that no one, neither cadet nor commander, would forget. Kara Holtgreen stood at the ready, silent, steady, and prepared to prove that a dead weight could carry the weight of victory. The alarms blared, and smoke billowed across the training ground, turning the morning sunlight into streaks of red and gold. Lieutenant Kara Holtgreen's heart raced, not from panic, but from clarity. The simulated battlefield had shifted into chaos, far more intense than any drill she had imagined. Automated drones whirred overhead, marking targets with laser precision, and her team's communications crackled with confusion. The cadets around her froze for a moment, paralyzed by the unexpected intensity, but Kara moved with purpose, instinct guiding her. "Dead weight," someone sneered from the next trench. The old nickname thrown like a blade meant to wound. Kara ignored it, focusing on the rising threat. Her training, once mocked as obsession, now gave her an advantage. The first automated targets darted from behind obstacles, and she raised her rifle, adjusting for wind, distance, and the trembling hands of her inexperienced teammates. In that moment, every lesson she had absorbed from legends like Lieutenant Audie Murphy and Colonel Billy Mitchell became her reality. She fired, each shot precise, each target neutralized before panic could take hold. The battlefield shifted unpredictably. Smoke grenades exploded nearby, and a sudden mechanical malfunction sent a simulated tank roaring toward the wrong coordinates. Her squad scrambled, and one cadet, a boy barely older than 16, stumbled, twisting his ankle. Kara didn't hesitate. She dashed forward, dragging him behind cover, all while keeping an eye on the incoming drones. The instructors, including Colonel Eileen Collins and Colonel Charles Young, observed silently from the tower, their expressions unreadable. The stakes had escalated. What had begun as a test of skill was now a challenge of courage, quick thinking, and leadership under pressure. Suddenly, the communications feed went dead, an unexpected twist that left Kara's team isolated. Panic threatened to take hold among the cadets, but she took a deep breath, reminding herself of every tactical drill, every strategy she had memorized. This was no longer about proving herself to others. It was about survival and keeping her squad alive. She moved swiftly, signaling silently for her team to follow. The automated enemies now closed in from multiple angles, creating a deadly corridor of fire. Kara's mind raced, calculating angles, estimating the drones' trajectories, anticipating each movement. Then came the unexpected turning point. A cadet she had trusted, frightened and trembling, accidentally triggered a simulated mine, sending sparks and smoke into the air. One of her squad members cried out, and for a second it seemed everything would collapse. Kara's instincts took over. She dove toward the mine, shielding her teammate, and in a flash of courage, neutralized the immediate danger before anyone was seriously hurt. Her bravery was visceral, raw, and unmistakable. Time slowed, each second heavy with tension. She aimed, fired, and within 3 heartbeats, the simulated threats were dismantled. The cadets around her stared in disbelief, their mouths agape. Those who had once mocked her now followed her silently, recognizing that she was not only capable but exceptional. Colonel Merrill Tengasdal's eyes glinted with approval, and even the sternest instructors exchanged glances of surprise. Amid the smoke and chaos, Kara felt a mix of adrenaline and exhaustion. Fear had been present, yes, but it had not paralyzed her. Loyalty to her squad, determination to survive, and the relentless courage that had carried her this far had become her weapons, sharper than any rifle or grenade. In 3 seconds that felt like eternity, she had transformed from a mocked cadet into a figure of respect, a soldier whose presence commanded both attention and admiration. The battlefield still rumbled, the simulation continued, but the seed of disbelief among her peers had already taken root. Deadweight was gone, replaced by someone who could carry the weight of a squad and perhaps, one day, a mission that mattered beyond the training grounds. The dust settled over the training ground, leaving a quiet tension in its wake. Smoke curled lazily from the spent explosives, and the echo of the simulated gunfire faded into the distance. Lieutenant Kara Holtgreen stood among her squad, her chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon as the adrenaline slowly ebbed. Around her, cadets who had once jeered now exchanged astonished glances, their respect evident but unspoken. The exercise was over, and the verdict was clear. She had not only survived, but had led with unparalleled courage, decisiveness, and skill. The instructors, Colonel John Glenn, Colonel Eileen Collins, Colonel Charles Young, descended from the observation towers, their expressions a mixture of approval and astonishment. The after-action debrief was solemn and thorough. Kara's every decision during the chaos was analyzed, dissected, and ultimately lauded. Her instinctive tactics, her calm under pressure, and her ability to prioritize her squad's safety over her own earned her commendations that few cadets ever saw. Colonel Merrill Tengasdal's voice carried authority as she addressed the group, noting Kara's ability to transform potential disaster into a strategic victory. Even the cadets who had mocked her nickname, Deadweight, could no longer see her as anything less than extraordinary. Whispers of admiration and disbelief rippled through the ranks, but victory was not without cost. One cadet had taken a hard fall during the exercise, his ankle still swollen and bruised, a silent reminder that courage often carried consequences. Kara tended to him personally, supporting him with patience and reassurance, demonstrating a quiet leadership that was as impactful as her battlefield prowess. She had learned that heroism was not just about eliminating threats, but protecting those who depended on you, ensuring that no sacrifice went unnoticed. In her actions, the lessons of legends like Lieutenant Audie Murphy and Colonel Billy Mitchell were no longer abstract. They had been lived and proven in the fire of practice that mirrored real war. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the grounds, Kara's transformation became clear. She was no longer the quiet cadet mocked for her size or questioned for her abilities. She had become a symbol of determination and courage, a living example that resilience and focus could surpass brute strength and conventional expectations. The squad around her moved with a newfound cohesion, their confidence in her leadership unwavering. Her bravery had altered the dynamics of the unit, creating trust where skepticism had once prevailed, loyalty where doubt had lingered. Her family received the news with pride. Letters of recognition were sent, and though they had always believed in her potential, they had never seen it so publicly affirmed. Kara's journey from mockery to respect resonated beyond the training ground. Friends, family, and instructors alike began to see her as someone who could redefine expectations, not just for herself, but for every cadet who struggled in silence, labeled unfairly by the world. In the quiet aftermath, Kara looked across the battlefield one last time. The targets had been neutralized, the obstacles conquered, and the lessons learned were etched into memory. She stood tall, knowing that her actions in just a few seconds had rewritten perceptions, shattered limitations, and forged a legacy that would inspire those who followed. There was no need for applause or accolades. The respect she had earned was permanent, unspoken, and profound. And as she removed her helmet, letting the cool evening breeze brush her face, a smile flickered across her lips. In the eyes of every cadet, every instructor, and every legend she had ever admired, the truth was undeniable. The girl once called Deadweight had carried the weight of courage itself.